Uh, Good morning. Good morning to you, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here from my temporary abode in Santa Monica, California. Um, Today is May 2nd, 2021. Yesterday I gave a personal sharing on my, I want to say, health crises, but it's not really a crisis or health challenge. I don't want to cover ground, so to speak, that I covered yesterday. So if you are lost in any way during this sharing, please refer to yesterday. It's here on my Facebook page. So good morning to you. In my own humble, unique style, I would like to just do what I normally do, to improvisationally, spontaneously play in that rarefied field with myself and with you called intimate authenticity, and do all I can with you to support you and your friends and tribe with me and my friends and tribe together in this uncontrived naturalness, if you will. And allow me and allow you to feel what we feel in the naturalness of our own interiors, the domain of our own sacred. And may we take it higher. I mean, that's the entelechy, the raison d'etre that I feel that drives my Dhamma, my liberating process of engaging consciousness and consciousness and consciousness and context at the sense doors and crises and complexities on this fragile planet. In this torturous galaxy called samsara, fraught with the propaganda of lies and deceit and rape, and yet we're compelled by forces unknown to us, but we have this legacy known as Buddha Dhamma Sangha out of the religious belt of Buddhism, where there is the option, the possibility of awakening, Buddha, Dhamma, the transformational intelligence to engage consciousness in form, to remove, from my humble opinion, greed, anger, and delusion, the gorgeous concept and the fidelity of this ever-present reality of nibbana, the extinction of ignorance, violence, the propensity to violate. It's so gorgeous. And Sangha, I can't be who I am without the dedicated intimacy of other. Yes, fraught with our frailties, our blindnesses, our shortcomings, say no more about those, but equally rising up in the fidelity, the high radiance of beautiful states of mind. May I encourage you to encourage your friends and family to rise up in our Dhamma radiance. And so thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for hanging out with me. The second part of this serendipity of uncertain futures and my own personal dance and your dance, if you so choose, because we're all in the same position by birth, having to face our mortality. A dance with the angel of death. And I will dance. I am dancing. And nice to see you. I have been diagnosed by multiple cardiac surgeons here in Los Angeles with what they call a fatal illness, life-threatening illness, where they have this, I never knew the word, an ascending aorta aneurysm, an acutely enlarged ascending aorta aneurysm that is, as I've been told, ready to burst, like a radiator hose that is just bulging, and with the slightest acceleration, even with the greatest music you've got on your little player, that little burst could burst it. And you die of a flooding of blood inside the body and the deoxygenation of limbs and brain, and it's, they say, a very tragic death in which only a few percentage make it out alive if you even get to the emergency room. So it's kind of a very unusual diagnosis. And it almost renders the whole proclivity of the human spirit, I'm just speaking about myself here, of my goodness, the complete deflation of hope other than through surgery, which of course is radically complicated, and there's always that option. When do you go in? How do you determine your likelihood of survival and complications? Isn't that better than dying? And you will die, Mr. Clements. This is not a situation where there's ambiguity. It's called the SK disease, the silent killer. Most don't even know they have it. You were lucky to find it in the emergency room with the CT scan. You came in for reasons other than that. We found it. It's a miracle. It's a gift. Okay, I've got the gift, but is surgery the option? For me personally, as of today, no. A resounding no. Doesn't mean that I'm wanting to martyr or wanting to die. There's a place in me that is so radically invigorated, if you will, with living as a result of this death diagnosis, unless you do surgery and risk all the complications. And even then, there could be a second aneurysm, a third aneurysm. You could die of cardiac arrest or a stroke or clots, or you could be paralyzed in a leg, or you could have severe dementia as a result of it. Thank you very much. It's really exciting to lie there and deal with these complications when in fact I am okay. It's asymptomatic, as in most cases. And the next thing you know, mid-sentence, they tell you you just writhe in anguish and you just die in a non-puddle of blood because it's all contained within the skin. A flooding, a rupture of this aorta, like a radiator hose at any moment. And so it really brings up the issue for me of what is hope in the face of hopelessness? And what is the propaganda of hope? What is this deep, intrinsically, socially driven, spiritualized, almost, well, more than almost, hope to keep going, to keep living, and all the things that come with it? Don't you want to love, make love? Don't you want to experience the light, the rainbows, the food? Don't you want to make love and fall in love? Don't you want to see your daughter again? All those things, yes, 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 yes. But each of us, and in my particular case right now, where is there hope without surgery? And okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to try to find an intelligence here that decodes the classical interpretations for myself of the meaning of hope. Hope isn't about longevity for me. I don't know about you. It's about the intimacy of high quality, right? High quality. High quality. What does that mean? Take it into the radiance of an intimate experience. Is it the orgasm? Is it the tantrification of shared space? Is it that one last book? Is it the podcast? Is it the look into your lover's eyes? Is it the letter to those people who violated you to forgive? Is it the redemption of your own dark shadow? Is it your willing to unposture and stop posing, and a declaration of authenticity to the world in your next podcast where you interview your own lies? I mean, yes, 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 making good on the promise of conscience. To me, hope is about making good on the promise of having the moral courage to activate and live in the radiance of dignity and conscience, unpostponed, uncontrived naturalness, to feel what is the truth of your integrity. Point one. Many of you know that I've written a book called Extinction, X-Rated. It's an auto-fictional dark satire. I want to emphasize the word dark. I lose my voice. Satire, and very comedic, very funny for those who get it, about good and evil. And I want to speak a little bit about that and some other things as well, and how it ties into this diagnosis of the aneurysm and hope and meaning and purpose and all the various things that come to mind today in this final sharing about my own personal challenge right now. Is, you may know or may not know, but I asked myself when I was gifted this home temporarily by my beloved friend Jenny Chardoff and her former husband who passed away, Bob Chardoff, whom have been allies of mine for decades. I was blessed to marry them back in 1990. And here I sit in what's known as Bob's room. These are just a portion of his books. And as a very talented storyteller and producer of all the Rocky movies and The Right Stuff and 39 other movies, he sat in this room often with screenwriters and directors and producers to tell tales that often don't get spoken or expressed on the screen. And for every one that gets made, there's probably 20,000 that should be made that never do get made. And so I sat in this room under lockdown here in Los Angeles and asked myself, what is the most important question that I could ask myself? Knowing that we're in the sixth great mass extinction generated by every human being on Earth and other forces beyond our control, based on the electrification of the global grid. Everything that we do, even this transmission, is based upon fossil fuels. And the heating of the atmosphere, the acidification of the oceans, the deforestation of our splendid first and second old growth forests, the dehabitation of food supplies, nuclear reactors, 440 of them that are all tied into this deep grid, and all the coal plants that are coming on despite the Paris Accord, and on and on and on, and all the statistics by all the great scientists and those who have the moral, ethical, scientific courage to connect the dots, that yes, the ice in the Arctic is rapidly dissolving, and there are methane bubbles, what are known as methane bombs, beginning to burst up that are going to ignite an uncontrollable, irreversible climate collapse. And it's like, I knew this. My friends and I have been discussing this for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I remember even doing a show back in Whidbey Island, How to Save the World. And I was looking at a clip the other day from that. That was back in 2005, talking about post-extinction. New York is running now on, artificially intelligent humans that look like roaches, all to preserve our precious economy and our lifestyles. And we're blind to this. And here I am. I've been diagnosed with a hopeless condition unless I undergo tragic, complicated surgery to increase the possibility of a few more years. And the equation is just like, it's ridiculous. I've already got my moment. I've got my month, maybe. Who cares about the future of life, right? Well, I do. I wrote a book about it. What would I do in the face of the sixth mass extinction? What really matters? And I sat in this room and I asked myself, what's the most important feelings that I could have? And I put before me, hey, listen, you've got 12 hours to make a decision, Alan. Take a high dose of acid and you've got this syringe of morphine on the table. And if you don't have the right answer by midnight, take your life in what I would term mindful euthanasia. Really happy story, right? It's a dark satire about good and evil. And now you may know, back in, I think, post-World War II in Chicago, there's a thing called the Doomsday Clock, a very romantic, sexy, erotic image, the Doomsday Clock. And it's the people, scientists and Nobel laureates, who really understood the horrors of World War II. Just imagine being in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the front lines of war with Allied soldiers and the Japanese fascists in Burma. Think about being in those soldiers, getting off those boats, going to Normandy, where the average lifespan was like 16 seconds. Hope and hopelessness for the greater good. And the Doomsday Clock is calibrated based upon these men and women who look at all the various factors worldwide. The basis of the book, by the way, I'm bringing this up about hope. Our survival rate as a species in the face of all these conditions that are often unrecognized, that every now and again come to the surface through someone's essay or a book or a podcast, and there's doubt and there's fear and there's all kinds of mongering, and next thing you know, that's denied. But the Doomsday Clock by these scientists and Nobel laureates and intellectuals is deeply, deeply assessed on the complexities of the life force grid that we all live in. From the nuclear plants and contamination and Chernobyls and Fukushimas, from nanotechnology and nano-terrorism, through unrestricted war, through information wars and propaganda, through the potentials of kinetic war, which is like live fire. Imagine right now all those nuclear bombs that are being poised at every one of us. One of them or two of them goes off. I think I'll take Alan's condition rather than live through a dystopian future where there's no electricity, no food, and human beings have turned to cannibals because they never meditated and did the teacher's training in how to be mindful of your greed, fear, and anger. Well, is that really on the horizon? Well, these intellectuals, these scientists, these Nobel laureates, unrestricted, unvarnished, uncensored, deep look into the conditions of the human race. And they turned up the Doomsday Clock on all the factors: consumption, electrification, nuclear war, consumerism, armament sales, rogue state terrorism, all the things that we really don't really look at carefully. And they upped the clock to a minute before midnight. They ratcheted it up. And tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And that was like, okay, I've got the Doomsday Clock. I've got my own 12 hours in this room, Bob's room. What is the truth of my hope? What is the reason to live or consciously take my life, knowing that the sixth great mass extinction is just seconds away? They all say we're already in it. We don't know when the electricity grid will go down. When it does go down, 90% of North Americans will die within a year. That is an ever-present threat, far beyond climate collapse. Just that terrorism alone. Oh God, that's really fatalistic, but it comes up, and I bring it up because if I pin my hope on longevity, if I pin my life on surgery, if I pin my life on the future of life as I know it, what about you and me and the future of life and my daughter and their children? What will they encounter in these dystopian landscapes that are seemingly inevitable as we live in the cul-de-sac of our valley, our tavern, our homes, our Netflix, our denial? And there we live in these little kind of weird phantasm bubbles. Like Aristotle said, we look at the cave wall facing the back and we see shadows, and we take those shadows for reality. And very few of us ever dare turn around and look at the light without the lens of denial. That's my point. Right now, my lens of denial seems to be very thin, becoming more and more transparent by the second. Now, mind you, I've been a good Buddhist for 50 years. I was a better Buddhist as a monk. I've been spiritually incorrect Buddhist now, before and after, and even more so these last days. So samsara, and the definition of samsara, is nothing new. Alan, all beings born into this fabric of cognitive, physical conditions are subject to impermanence, are empty of self-fixation, fraught with dukkha, different levels, from mental, physical, and simply the dukkha of transition, impermanence, evanescence. Nothing can be controlled. Your breath, your mind, your arteries, your aneurysm, in-breath, out-breath, neither wish to live nor fear dying. I heard that for decades in Burma, and I still hear it in my mind today. The Doomsday Clock, I ask myself the question, what really matters? And I think that's more and more present. May I communicate with you from the heart of my heart. if there's ever a takeaway that I'm seeing here since I've been diagnosed since April 11th, it's the fidelity, the beauty, the resonant self-love to feel into. Trans longevity. Stop being practical. Just stop. Open your mouth. Drop the unthinkable, organic psychedelic called deep, mindful introspection. Looking at the ways in which we contrive and contort and posture and live in the propaganda of predictable patterns of behavior and thought and rejection and hope and denial. Drop, drop, drop like a good MDMA session before we're dying. And we transition through these often unrecognized, right? Unrecognized foibles and fault lines and areas of personality disorder and the denial of love and the ways in which we subjugate ourselves in forms of self-shaming and hope, and live in the belief of, I pray enough, I'll live in heaven, and I deny that I'm in hell now. And it's like, is it really about eating the strawberry with the tiger below? As we cling to that branch on the side of a cliff with one arm and smile as we taste the sweetness of our truth, not the strawberry. And so the intersection of hope and the Doomsday Clock and the sixth great mass extinction and this aorta aneurysm that's at a size where you will die. We don't know when, but if we were to calibrate the likelihood, could have been yesterday. We can't predict it except that it always rupture. And if we knew that it was really going to rapidly increase in size, which we can't really risk that unless you want to risk it, just even 1, 2, 3 centimeters is a lot. And I would say, I would rip off your shirt right now and operate in the room despite you wanting to be operated on or not. That urgent. It's a radiator hose. It's a ticking clock. It's a tick-tock, tick-tock, a short fuse. I've heard this from doctors and online, and it's, what an image. I wrote a book about this, and all of a sudden I've got one in my heart. With underlying conditions and complications, I'm going like, what a gift. What a rad gift. I channeled my future, and I'm feeling better than ever. It's mind-blowing. And I know it's probably tempered by some degree of denial, but I can tell you in my heart, I have turned from facing the shadow of my life, and I'm facing the light of authenticity without the need of a future being in the way in which longevity projects. And it's all about the love of quality. What a gift, right? What a gift to finally, more ever. I don't need to be in a monastery meditating in-breath, out-breath. I am that monastery now. I've embodied the Mahasi Satana Yekta as a living, breathing experience of being. No more sampapalapawasa. Hold me accountable. No more circular thinking in speech that does not go anywhere. No more noise. I don't want your radio currency. I don't want to hear your hip-hop rad. Yes, I do. I want to be intimate with those very secret, beautiful things. Tick-tock. We're all on the same clock. And if you think you've got more time than I do, Alan, I'm not trying to talk to you or teach you or preach to you. I excuse that. I just want to rant and rave and scream and be as real as possible here on this moment of time in my own heart. I've been told that tomorrow may never come. It's so fucking radical that these fucking hotshot guys that make people live longer, I'm going like, what will I do with the preciousness of the day? I've got 3 months in front of me. It could be 3 years. I don't know. I'm going to get into that towards the end. And so I'm channeling myself for these 7 months in this room. I'm channeling my friend Bob. I hear him in my heart all the time. Never give up. That's Rocky, right? The existential rocking all of us. Doesn't mean give up breathing. He was so rad with regard to the inclusivity of complexity, foibles. We helped each other grow together over the years of our friendship until he passed on 4 years ago. Inclusivity, non-postponement. What are the measures today I'm getting? Tick-tock, the Doomsday Clock. It's it's not the hope clock, it's the clock of quality. I took the boogeyman out of that clock as of about 3 weeks ago. I had a fear filter based upon the apocalypse and the anthropocentric collapse of existence known as this sixth mass extinction that we're all in. Remember Greta, back in, what was it, September 23rd, 2019 or so, standing in front of the United Nations, telling the world, I want no more of your endless fairy tales of financial monetary growth. Entire ecosystems are collapsing right now. Your very hearts are collapsing. You are not separate from the collapse, from earth, from death. And yet, too young, she should study climate science more carefully than trying to preach to the elders of civilization. All the ways in which we deny and denigrate. Tick-tock, right? I said it yesterday, I'll say it again yesterday. I heard a podcast of a gentleman, Mr. Ehrlich from Stanford University, the biologists, talk about this anthropocentric, human-driven extinction that we're in. And the details of that are just staggering. But he said from a human perspective, it looks slow motion. Alan, how much time do you have? You may be dead today, a couple of months. If it grows a little bit more, it's almost certain to burst within 3 to 6 months. And that could be yesterday. It burst at much smaller enlargements than what you have. Come on, get the surgery. Bless their heart. And he said, but from a cosmological perspective, extinction is instantaneous. David Suzuki, the great environmentalist, we are like 8 billion humans in a car driving headlong into the brick wall of annihilation. And we're getting surgeries for our things when we're headed for global annihilation. And you really wonder the preponderance of effort put into medical interventions. And I know this is like, oh my God, he's really unhinged now. But it's just sharing with you my mind. What really matters to us if we're in that car? Would we jump out of the car? Would we put a chokehold around the driver, which would be ourselves, and say, gather yourself, turn around from the cave of Aristotle's image and face the light of your own frailty, your own mortality, and stop pretending that health is permanent, beauty is permanent, that there are temporary fixes to the Botox, your own inability to existentially embrace your own mortality, stand naked beyond time, beyond disease, beyond death. That was the Buddha's teaching, right? As I heard it from my teachers. Nibbana, the deathless. That is so rad as a concept. So beautiful. Not as a state over there on the other side of the freeway, but as a living, breathing entity of unconditional engagement with your shadow, with your vulnerability, with your hope, with your dream, the living radiance of liberty. And that's where I'm hanging today. I hope you'll join me in that Rumi-esque field. I'm going to speak about it towards the end of the sharing today. I've got a plan for the next 3 months. I'm inviting good people from around the world to love freedom, love truth, love intimacy, love sapiosexual erotic spaces, to come play together. I want to meditate. I want to sing. I want to dance. I want to get naked. I want to unveil from the final little vestiges of epidermal pretense. I want to undo the lies that are still there, locked in my secret cavern of privacy. Freedom is far better than enlightenment, I can tell you. And so, hope. My beloved friend Trey, former Vietnam vet, volunteered for 2 19-month tours as a young man in Vietnam, was way up in the north in Khe Sanh, where the most murderous hand-to-hand frontline fighting went on during that decade-long horror. I met him in the jungles of Karen State, which now is being actively bombed by the terrorist organization in Burma known as MASAC, the new Taliban, the new designated terrorist organization on the planet, Ming Online, MAH, and State Administration Council, SAC-MASAC. And this is a Christian region of Burma, and there are Catholics, there's Muslim regions, there are Buddhist regions, there are atheist regions, there are Jewish regions, and they're all interwoven. It's the beauty of Burma. It's such a tapestry of languages and cultures and religions. And I met him way up in the outer mountain ridges when I was escorted there by Burmese students who had left the city after the revolution in '88, when so many were killed by the senior general at the time and the dictator Ne Win, whose grandson today is the one Masak. Ming Online is the grandson of Ne Win. And I remember he walked from an unknown place and just stuck his face around a tree. It was white, and there were no white faces out there. He says, "You're a non-combatant. Do as the combatants tell you to do." And I went, this dude is on fire. And he had a tank top on. He had his skull and crossbones, born to kill. He had an AK-47, long ponytail. My kind of yogi. Anyway, we hung, we smoked. I watched and learned from this gentleman. Not too long after that, we were in the outermost station where the soldiers and the Karen soldiers and the student soldiers and the parallel government that escaped the country were in a jungle enclave called Menerplau in Karen State. And not unlike today, where we're seeing these Russian-made jets bequeathed to the terrorist group in Burma. They're dropping bombs and rockets on the people of Kachin State, Shan State, Karen State. Thank you, Mr. Putin. Thank you, Xi Jinping, for arming Pol Pot, for arming a Taliban, for arming Al-Qaeda, for arming Boko Haram, for arming Masak. That's really cool of you, dude. And you are a permanent representative on the Security Council. You're on the UN Human Rights Council. That's like inviting Nazi Germany to be on the Security Council, so that he and these terrorist groups known as China and Russia and others and Burma right now can perpetually veto compassionate, life-saving measures. Thank you very much, world. That's called a pathology on a global political level. Setting that aside, including that in the dialogue, I think I want to stay alive to participate in that story. But all of a sudden, we're hanging, and Trey, who is acutely sensitive to the sounds of war, he heard the sound of high-altitude jets coming straight down from the sun, which they often do, he explained, and they were dropping rockets and bombs on Menerplau. And he says, Alan, we're under attack by jets. And I immediately ran, and he grabbed me by the shoulder and laughed at my face. He says, dude, there is no place to hide. Stop. You can't outrun rockets and bombs. Better to be here, further away from forests, from buildings and wood that send shrapnel for hundreds of meters. Just hang, put out a cigarette, and we talked beyond fear. That was a huge lesson for me, to call off the future. This, it's cliched as it is, the wisdom of no escape. I could do surgery and likely survive, okay? Maybe I'm a surgery rat. Maybe I'll have a second and third operation. The quality of life is so radically diminished. Maybe I went into the forest and hid, and I lost my arm and my leg, but at least I'm alive. But I'm in a hospital. I'm on crutches. I've got prosthetics, and it's like, thanks, Trey. Thank you for letting me run into the forest and become half a human. But at least you and I can smoke that cigarette now. And it's like the sixth mass extinction. All of us are mortal. The electrification of the planet, nuclear arms and bombs and Fukushimas and Chernobyls and terrorism and the jab and mind control and global totalitarianism and what happened in Tibet that the Dalai Lama spoke about 30 years ago. If Tibet isn't helped within 10 years, there's no Tibet to save. Young Greta's at the United Nations screaming to 193 civilized men and women who represent civilized countries worldwide. There will be no earth to save unless we intervene yesterday. Tick-tock, Doomsday Clock. I wrote a book about this. Where is there hope? How do we lie to ourselves about the future? Yes, I've been given a gift. I can kind of orchestrate a dance party rather than being on an IV and being on chemo or being disabled, or there's no more petroleum, there's no more electricity. I can't even imagine. Oh my God, the electricity grid went down. When's it coming back? When's it coming back? No more live streaming, no more refrigerators, no more Whole Foods. Is that on the horizon? The Doomsday Clock in Chicago, they moved it up just a minute before midnight. And so the issue for me here is like, really, what could I do? Let me say this. One of the things that have happened for me in the last 19, 20 days is I've elevated the status of 6 conditions, primarily one, but I'll name them again. My respect for samsara, the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha, the primacy of Samvega and the power of mindful intelligence, the beauty of sapiosexual, ubuntufied, bodhisattvic-oriented shared spaces to co-create Nibbanic, the fifth state, Nibbanic openness. All these Buddhist teachings that I see, they're all in the fidelity of shared spaces. People come to the Buddha. He and she and they talk in intersecting auditory vibrational frequencies that liberate interior cognitions from fear, greed, and delusion. And all of a sudden there's a Sotapanna, a Sakadagami, an Anagami, an Arhanta, first, second, third, fourth stage of enlightenment in the Nibbana field simply by the congregation of shared spaces where people turn away from the back wall of shadow dancing in Aristotle's analogy and look to the radiance of high fidelity possibility beyond old age, disease, and death. I've been given a gift. My Dhamma now is so pixelated as of the last 19 days, and it's just going through the heart roof every day. And I do believe, allow me to rant and scream with you, and I hope there's sense in this for you, but it's sense for me. Allow me to scream there. I feel ever more radiant with the hope of a Dhamma cure. Even if it fails, there's no failing. A non-surgical intervention when there's the possibility that love will heal the heart. Even if the heart stops. I have made an aditant for 2.5 years now, every day. May the power of my Dhamma, Satya, when I pass any breath, bring me into the field of the next Buddha, Maitreya, where I want to commune and reunite with my samsaric sangha. Some of you out there are members of my samsaric sangha. We will be together in minutes from now. Maybe on Maui, maybe in Bali, digitally right now, but possibly, likely, if you make the same aditant, I encourage you, if that is your satya, your truth, come play with me in the next Buddha Sangha. What a delight that will be together to watch the radiance of a masterful interaction of sapiosexual Dhamma, Nibbanic experiences of awakening. To play in the field of psychic intuitive creations, and to know that we've done the good job of removing from the primordial field of our own heart and mind greed, anger, and fear. I don't want to live with those qualities. I have never felt, I was telling my dear friend Janine last night, I've never felt so dispassionate about the participation in phenomenology, except to increase Nibbanic presence on my mindful intelligence. Bring those two together. That's known as the primacy of Samvega, an urgency to resurrect the finest liberating states of consciousness out of the retreat, out of the training, out of the teacher motif, out of the denial, out of the future, out of spiritual Dhamma apartheid. There's no better place than right here with me, in breath, out breath, right? That is no longer a cliche in any way, shape, or form. The aneurysm is ready to burst any second, Mr. Clements. Well, Trey taught me something very beautiful about facing the moment with heart. As I come to the final areas of this sharing today, and I'm going to continue tomorrow with spontaneous talks. I'm going to start reading sections from my book for those who can bear it, and offer some commentary on that. The power of challenging the ways in which we compromise, deny, lie, postpone, increasing the elegant simplicity of urgency. It's not a stress-oriented emergency urgency. It's the risk-taking, for me at this point, of bhavana, or the risk-taking to trust beauty again, to love again, come out of the cave of that dukkha pool that's been there for the last 10 years, the last 5 years, with the death of mom and dad and aunts and godmother and teachers, and the complexities on a family level, on an intimate level, with betrayals and lies and collusions, sabotages, all these human conditions. I forgive you. I forgive me. I could not be who I am without these folds and shadows, but I refuse. I don't want to participate anymore. I want to play in that rarefied field of authenticity and a hope beyond the future. So as I conclude today, I'd like to share with you some of the visions that I have. And if you have more that you need to see or want about the details of this prognosis, watch yesterday's video, and you'll find a fuller picture. I have never felt better in my life. I say that with tremendous confidence. I don't see it as denial. Um, I cry more spontaneously more in the last 3 weeks than I have in my whole life. It's not out of fear that I can feel. The quality of my communication has never been better. I feel for the first time in my life truly a fearlessness. I would rarely use that word. I use the gift word a lot, but it's gone into a treasure. The more I hear these diagnoses, even the idea of a terrible, terrible death, I've refused to participate in the narrative of dukkha. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to give pain life through projection. I said yesterday, somewhat jokingly, I didn't bring an emergency kit of morphine into the meditation hall in Burma to get me through the tough times of pain. How many people I knew, friends of mine who came to the monastery, and we became fast friends as nuns or monks, who had been diagnosed with terminal illnesses. I've spoken about it, but I'll be there again right now. Just one dear friend who had a brain tumor. We would often sit with Sayadaw U Pandita in his cottage, and he would be in such pain, and Sayadaw would come over and just put his hand on his back, as if holding space, sacred space with him. You know, if you're there, put your hand on my shoulder. I'm going to need sacred space as well. Right now I'm dealing in high radiance, but who knows what's going to come. And so my joy is to imagine. I want to use the power of imagination because I spent 270 pages here. What is the truth? Where's my wonderment? Where's my awe? Where's my conscience? Isn't there a lover yet to be known that you want to make love with in ways that you've never known yet, Alan? And yes, Avalokiteshvara, the next Buddha, the woman, the divine feminine. Yes, I want to meet her inside of my own heart. Isn't the final oasis of a arhat-oriented nibbana on your horizon? Yes, I want to take it as high as I can in this life and into the next. But what do I really want to create in a pragmatic way? I hope that I have some time. I'd like to co-create with those who want to bring into fidelity with me a 2 to 3 month period. I want to wait and see and feel. Each day is a new poetry. Each day is a transrumi. Each day is a new sutta being written in my own heart. I'm in the flow right now, and I'm inviting others who want to go into that flow more and more together and create interactive flows. I want to come together somewhere. I'm thinking that it's in America, in Maui, and to put together an oasis, indirectly, in some form of community with people there and people around the world who may want to come. You're invited. Text me, email me, message me. I want to be in, for the first month, a sacred retreat environment. I really do want to sit more in the level of understanding meditation today, not historically. I want to sit and feel and think and heal and hope and listen and commune. I want to do yoga. I want to keep my shoes off. I want to eat slowly. I want to drink and sip tea in natural, beautiful, mindful peace. I want to hear the music of my own heart. I want to listen to the beat of it. I want to dance with that angel of death. I want to take fear out of my projection of her taking something from me, hurting me, betraying my future. I want to understand the timelessness in the moment, the nibbana in the moment. I want to create something very unique and special. A 1 month retreat in a 3 month context, and any of us could pass at any second. If there's ever a moment where that has become clear, how easy, right, it is to walk and interrelate without dropping in. And I know it's so cliche to say that. Yes, it's easy for you to say it. Now that the whole world, as it's been said, is in hospice to the 6th mass extinction. You and I, brothers and sisters, lovers, parents, children, animals, trees, God, the devil, the angels, we're all in this field of impermanent every second, fraught with the samsaric Lokia propaganda of death, old age, and illness. These heavenly messengers are always there. Take the fear out of them. That's the heavenly part of the messenger. I want to create in this special field an immediacy that I've never known in my life. Yes, am I melodramatic? Fuck right, man. I'm not existentially dramatic yet. I'm still melodramatic. I want to be emotionally released. I want to understand the secret things while in this last few minutes of life, before I transition, before you transition. I want to do that which I really, really want to do. For nearly a year now, I've been here. I don't even like the word lockdown, a conscious monastic sequestering of my behaviors to ask myself, this was never meant to be a book. It was a period of existential self-therapy. I didn't know that I would live to tell the day. Only at the end did I decide to put it into writing. It's so rad. You'll either love it or hate it, but don't hate me. I had to ask the hardest questions to find the truth of my hope. And it wasn't about tomorrow. It was really about today. And all of a sudden, 2 days after this damn thing is published, I'm in ER with this diagnosis of, oh my God, man, you've got a ticking clock in your own heart. I didn't manifest my own death. I was listening to something that was already there. This thing could have been growing for the last 2 years, the last year, for the last 20 years, the last 7 months. Unthinkable. It's an unthinkable, unthinkable gift. That's all I want to say. It's an unthinkable gift. So thank you from my heart for being in my life. Even the people in my life over the 5 decades of my Dhamma life, and perhaps even before. I made peace with you in my book. If you want to know what I said, it's in here. I didn't name names. I expressed feelings inside of me. Everything is forgiven. There's no historical record. I feel relieved. There's no one I need to process with. All of you have your own feelings. I let you live with them. I am not seeking reconciliation. I'm seeking nibbana and my next life and the radiance of intimacy with those few people that want to dance and play. So may I invite you, let me know who you are. This is all very immediate for me. These decisions are being made by the second. What I'm saying today was not planned yesterday. Text me, email me, whatever way of communicating, let me know that you would like to be a part of this month-long creation. I don't want to negotiate how much time you have. Either you're all in or you're not. It'll be offered completely on Dana. I trust that. I don't want tangential experiences at this point, and I haven't for years. But I want to be with people who want to turn away from the shadow. I don't want catharsis. If that's there, yes, you'll be held. But I want to celebrate, be quiet, commune, feel, and possibly heal. Heal. I'm looking for Dhamma cure. I'm not just resigning myself to the certainty of this aorta rupturing or dissecting, they say. I asked these doctors, does it ever reduce in size? Once dilated, it never returns, Mr. Clements. the heart keeps pumping and it only gets larger. It's already far larger, Mr. Clements, than many people. Where it ruptures or dissects, unknown to them, far smaller. Can it get bigger? Yes. How long will you live? We don't know. We're recommending surgery, ticking clock, radiator hose. Okay, got it. I'm not communicating hopelessness, but just radical urgency, Mr. Clements. And it's really interesting to let this in because it's totally asymptomatic. It's all them looking through the instrumentation, and you see it together. You see your heart. You see your aorta. And you go, fuck. And it's like, okay, got it. So deep, 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 deep trust in these people. And so I'm believing that, but at the same time, I'm really having to listen to the wisdom, so to speak, of my own Dhamma heart, deeper than my physical heart. So in closing, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the gift of your friendship, the people who have been writing and texting and commenting on my videos. I wish I had a greater capacity to respond. It's not that I don't read and feel it. I'm just so touched. Know that from my heart. If we never meet or talk, you're a gift. You're a gift to me that you are who you are, sharing what you are sharing with me. My beloved daughter, Sarabella, I love you more than the universe, more than my own life. I pray that we have a chance to commune in person, and if not, your dad was one who followed his own heart, and I pray to you that you see in these words, in these videos, that it's about living your life in authenticity, in fearlessness, being deeply, radically committed to your authenticity, to your integrity. Seek out an understanding of samsara. Whether you embrace them or not, study the Four Noble Truths. Seek out lifelong dialogue with Ingrid and Janine. Meditate. Learn the power of mindful intelligence. Learn the power of Samvega. Study the meaning of Nibbana. Study the meaning of that incredible gift in the samsara, an oasis beyond time and death. And above all, live your dream. Live so fucking outside of the box. People are so thrilled to be your friend. It doesn't matter. Even simple idiot contortionists are assassinated and killed. Far better to be reviled and rejected, ridiculed, and even my friends in Burma who are political prisoners, far better to be imprisoned than to live and cower to totalitarian doctrines inside and out. Refuse to participate in slavery, except to free those. Be yourself. Listen to that voice. You know that, young woman. Listen to that voice. Yes, I've done wrong. Yes, I've struggled. I don't even ask for forgiveness. I am flawed. I am imperfect, to state the obvious. But live your radical, most uncensored dream. Play the music from your heart. Don't step to anyone's beat unless it's shared and mutual. trust in miracles, study the Dhamma. Be any way you want to be, unique to the way you touch, kiss, give birth, love. It's been said, no two of us will do it alike. We're all snowflakes, melting and reforming. We're all fingerprints dissolving in this great samsara. Be your unique, true conscience. Study that intelligence, feel it, and keep high in this great dark sky of samsara, the radiance of love and liberty. Dance high with universality of freedom. And so from my heart to yours, young woman, and all the friends in my life, I hope to see you. I hope to meet you if we've never met. And yes, I'm falling in love. Come dance and play in this sacred field of intimacy. You're invited. And I hope this retreat comes to be. This communion, this dance, this dream experience that I've been wanting to do for decades. I want to create that. It brings a smile to my heart. And stay close and you'll know when, but reach out. I can't be who I am right now without you. So thank you for your love. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your compassion. Hope to see you tomorrow. From my heart to yours.